Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith TB. Here are the top stories at this hour. 6 members of House of Representatives dump Labour Party, People's Democratic Party for ruling All Progressives Congress. Borno Deputy Governor, over 100 others escape plane incident. Namibia's President-elect calls victory a breakthrough for women. Details shortly. Let's begin by telling you that as plenary resumed at the House of Representatives on Thursday, 5 lawmakers of the people of the Labour Party have defected to the All Progressives Congress APC. They are Esosa Iyawe from Edo, Tochukwu Okere from Imo, Donatus Matthew from Kaduna, Basi Akiba from Cross River, and Diliop from Plateau. Also a lawmaker, Ihere Take Ibori Sonu from Delta, dumped the People's Democratic Party PDP for the APC. The now former Labour Party lawmakers cited division within their party as the main reason for their defection. After over 20 years of its formation, pro-workers political organization Labour Party made inroads into mainstream politics during the 2023 elections as the party got 6 Senate and over 34 House of Representatives sit. In the meantime, the Labour Party revealed that it would respect, or rather request, the leadership of the House of Representatives to declare vacant the seats of its former members who recently defected to the All Progressives Congress APC. The opposition party also vowed to take legal action against the defecting lawmakers and announced that it had opened a register for members of the House and other elected officials who disgraced the party by switching allegiances to other political platforms. Now, this was disclosed in a statement issued in Abuja by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Obiora Ifo. Ifo's concerns followed the defection of several Labour Party lawmakers in the House to the ruling APC, as their defection letters were read on the floor of the Green Chamber by the Speaker Tajuddin Abbas on Thursday. Interesting times ahead. In the meantime, move on to the Senate, as the Nigerian Senate have debunked claims that the proposed tax reform bills have been suspended or withdrawn. Senate President Godswill Akpabio made this clear on Thursday, emphasizing the chamber's independence and its dedication to protecting the interests of Nigerians. Akpabio's statement followed a point of order raised by Senate leader Okweyemi Bamidele, who expressed dissatisfaction with media reports suggesting the bill hath been withheld. He clarified that the executive holds the right to withdraw the bill, but not the Senate. Bamidele explained that the Senate's earlier debates on the bill revealed areas of concerns, prompting the creation of an ad hoc committee to review these issues and report back to the chamber.
As far as we are concerned, the tax reform bills are alive in this hallowed chamber. They are receiving consideration at various levels, and we are open to discussions, to negotiations, to interface. But let it not be said anywhere that we suspended further consideration of these bills. And also, it will be laughable for anybody to also think or say or report that the bills were withdrawn. Because, like I said, there are executive bills that can only be withdrawn by the executive. And there's no reason to do so. Because these bills, we believe, are in overriding public interest, and will do everything possible to ensure that across geopolitical interests, across, political parties, across every religious interest, everybody that has concern, civil society, everybody that has concern is given a chance to contribute to the passage of these laws.
I also shy away from deleting or abrogating or stopping whatever we feel is not in the public interest. But for the tax reform bills, we believe that there are too many provisions there that would definitely help Nigerians. You can't imagine what it means for businesses that earn less than 50 million not to pay tax. You can't imagine what it means for multiplicity of taxes to be abrogated. You can't imagine what it means for people who earn less than the minimum wage or even minimum wage not to pay tax. I assume the exemptions are such that up to 100 million Nigerians will benefit from these tax reform bills. So let's not listen to social media, let's not listen to Arise Television, and I hope they are well guided with the explanation of the...
Let's begin. Let's continue with this time to Borno State, as the Deputy Governor Umar Kadufu and other 100 passengers narrowly escaped a tragic incident when a MAX aircraft experienced an engine fire shortly after takeoff from Maiduguri International Airport. Now, the incident occurred around 7 p.m. on Wednesday when the aircraft en route Abuja suffered engine failure caused by a bird strike about 10 minutes into the flight. Now, the pilot and crew managed to execute an emergency landing back at Maiduguri Airport, averting disaster. One of the MAX Air staff member who spoke on condition of anonymity confirmed the incident on Thursday morning. Now, following the emergency landing, passengers were reportedly in a state of panic, with many opting to collect their luggage and return home rather than board another flight. And now to security matters. The police have pointed fingers at the newly formed terror group Lukarawa as the mastermind of an explosion that occurred along the Dasudu-Gwasau Road in the Maru local government area of Zamfara State on Wednesday. Zamfara State Police Commissioner Mohammed Dalijan said members of the dreaded insurgent group were seen around the scene of the incident shortly before the explosion. Dalijan said planting of explosive devices was a new development in this northwest state, and he said though Zamfara has had a long battle with deadly bandits, they don't have the capacity to plant explosive devices. Meanwhile, military authorities have promised to eliminate the terror group and its insurgents and other terror groups like Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province, and that's ISWAP. Now, earlier, Mustafa Jafaru Kara, the senior special assistant to the Zamfara State Governor on broadcast media, press and public affairs, spoke to us on this development. Take a look.
The State Commissioner of Police, Shehu Mohammed Dalijan, yesterday granted interview to newsmen, telling them that their preliminary investigation showed that it is Lakurawa, a new set of bandits or criminals that is ravaging Sokoto, Kebbi, and probably they have now get their way to Zamfara. But of course, whether they are Lakurawa, whether they are the bandits or Ansaru, any name, they are bandits of whatsoever name. And the Zamfara State government, under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Dauda Lawal, is fighting criminal and criminality head-on in Zamfara in collaboration with the sister security agencies and community protection guard established by the Zamfara State government. And they are getting, they are now getting, successes, recording successes over the banditry in that area. I want to cast your mind back a little bit that those areas were the initial areas where this banditry activity started about 11 to 12 years ago. So they are predominantly there, and then the security agencies under the Operation Fansayama, and then that of the collaboration with the State government of community protection guards are now winning war against the bandits, and that is why they are now, devising this means of planting explosives to innocent people, and then people are become victims of their heinous crime.
Former Vice Chairman, Zamfara Committee on Persecution of Bandits and Related Offences, Abdullahi Shinkafi, also shared his thoughts on this. Take a look.
In fight against this criminal element is to improve in the border security. We have a porous border. We share border with Niger Republic. From Zurumi local government, Shinkafi local government, we share border with Niger Republic. So it is easy for this criminal element to smuggle arms and ammunition through the porosity of the border on government space. So there's need for security agents to improve in the border control, and they also improve intelligence security gathering. And the locals should give a very important information to the security agencies, that is members of the public. So, and that should be an improvement in the community policing. The state governor have been doing well, trying to improve in the security by using this community protection guards. But this community protection guard need to be motivated, need to be appreciated. The government has to deploy more logistics.
Now, staying with security matters, Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oloyede, has restated the commitment of the Nigerian Army to prioritize the welfare of its officers and men in order to improve troops' efficiency. Now, this was made known when the General Officer commanding 3 Armored Division and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, presented electric motorcycles to 16 best-performing soldiers of the division. News Central's Esosa Iyawe tells us more.
At this event, 16 soldiers were honored with 16 electric motorcycles, 1 each, for exceptional performances in their various formations and units of operation. According to the Chief of Staff to the General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Aminu Gumel, it is a sustained initiative aimed at recognizing exceptional performances as part of the Chief of Army Staff's commitment to prioritizing troops' welfare.
The General Officer Commanding's presentation of these gift items today aligns with the current drive of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General O.O. Oluyede, towards sound administration and the welfare of troops. The division recently benefited from various interventions by Army headquarters aimed at enhancing troops' welfare, including the renovation and construction of new accommodation, new offices complex, and the provision of resources to enable personnel effectively carry out their duties.
For him, the initiative is also aimed at improving the transportation challenges among these troops, as well as reducing dependence on fossil fuel by personnel.
The gesture of rewarding the deserving soldiers with electric motorcycles is aimed at reducing dependence on fossil fuel by personnel, while also underscoring the division's commitment to environmental sustainability. The electric motorcycles are both efficient and eco-friendly and will serve as a sustainable mode of transportation within the cantonment.
I will also like to thank the General Officer Commanding 3 Division, Commander Operation Safe Haven, for all his blessing and guidance upon all the soldiers of this cantonment. We thank you, sir, for your gift and your blessing. May Almighty God continue to be with you, sir.
The recipient soldiers were delighted at receiving the electric motorcycles, a gesture which will clearly motivate others to up their performances. From the 3 Division Maxwell Kobe Cantonment in Jos for News Central, Esosa Iyawe.
Retired military personnel protested at the Federal Ministry of Finance in Abuja on Thursday, demanding unpaid entitlements. The retirees accused the government of withholding a promised 20% to 28% salary increment for January to November of 2024 and payments for palliatives from October 2023. They also demanded an additional 32,000 naira added to pensions, bulk payment of the Security Department's allowance, and refunds for deductions from medically boarded soldiers. Now, protesters brought mats, chairs, and canopies, vowing to remain until their demands are met. Colonel Innocent Azubike, retired, decried the hardships caused by unpaid entitlements, adding that promised payments in November were delayed due to a lack of cash backing. The Nigerian Bar Association has called for the release of human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi over allegations of libel leveled against him. A statement by the president, Afam Osigwe, on Wednesday said his arrest was a breach of the rule of law, contending that defamation had since been decriminalized in Lagos State. The NBA maintained that Farotimi's arrest was not only in clear violation of legal principles, but an affront to the rule of law. The association urged all law enforcement agencies to prioritize respect for human rights and adherence to the principles of legality. You're watching news now on News Central Television. When we return, we'll talk about combating gender-based violence as advocates call for a united approach in tackling the menace. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. Gender rights advocates in Nigeria have called for a more coordinated approach in responding to cases of sexual and gender-based violence in the country. Now, this was during a public dialogue on the implementation of decisions reached by the ECOWAS Court of Justice against Nigeria during several court hearings. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai reports.
As part of activities marking the 16 days of activism, the Institute for Human Rights and Development in Africa, in partnership with other pro-transparency organizations, hosted a public dialogue in Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja. The discussion centered on the implementation of judgments by the ECOWAS Court of Justice, bordering on cases of gender-based violence, where victims of domestic violence in Nigeria were denied justice.
Today, we are not only here to reaffirm our commitment to the eradication of gender-based violence, but also to underscore the critical role that regional human rights mechanisms, such as the ECOWAS Court, play in ensuring justice for survivors and accountability for duty bearers, and hopefully, ultimately, holding the perpetrators of gender-based violence accountable.
So when things happen and we cry out and say, these things have hurt us, it's because we hope that the leadership is going to refine the methods with which the leadership engages with us. Because primarily, what is leadership without people to lead? If we don't get the damages awarded to us, it still feels like justice denied.
Stakeholders present at the engagement say there is a need for coordinated efforts in addressing cases of gender-based violence.
For stakeholders, for practitioners, for civil society organizations who are within the space, we should have a coordinated response mechanisms of approaching to all of these issues. So if we are able to come together as one and not carry on these battles as individual organizations, but come together as one, have a coordinated approach to responding to all of these cases, I think that also could also help to hold and ensure justice is served and accountability is held at every point in time.
Participants also add that they hope that the dialogue will deepen the public's understanding of the mechanisms involved by the ECOWAS Court of Justice in reaching its decisions and bridge the gap between the court's judgment and the quest for justice. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Nigeria's Minister of Arts, Cultural, Tourism and Creative Economy has announced plans to expand the recognition of the nation's heritage sites beyond the Sukur cultural landscape in Adamawa and the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove in Osun State. Minister Hanatu Masawa made this known during the close-out event of the UNESCO Netherlands Fund and Trust-supported projects for the Osun-Osogbo World Heritage Site, saying this will create more job opportunities for youths in the country. Also, representatives from the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and UNESCO expressed optimism that their quest to protect the site will help preserve the cultural heritage of the nation.
The fact that Nigeria only has two sites, Sukur and now Osun-Osogbo, to me, it's really too minimal. It's not enough for a country like Nigeria that has many expressions of, cultural sites. I think we need to expand it, and we're working in tandem with UNESCO to ensure that within the next couple of years, we expand it exponentially to ensure that, Nigeria has a number of sites that are recognized under UNESCO.
The Netherlands has been very pleased to contribute to the preservation and restoration of the Shrewsbury Grove. It's really representing a key element of the rich cultural heritage of Nigeria. And the preservation of this rich cultural heritage is something that Netherlands and Nigeria and other UNESCO member states we share.
This project that we are closing today, it's a contribution to support Nigeria to address these challenges that are around Osun-Oshogbo, and it has been made possible thanks to the generous donation of the Kingdom of Netherlands.
You're watching news now on News Central Television. Still to come. Namibia's president-elect calls victory a breakthrough for women. Details after the break. Join us again. And you're welcome back. A delegation of the West African Elders Forum Observation Mission, led by former President Goodluck Jonathan, has arrived in Accra, Ghana, ahead of the December 7th general elections in the country. The WAF's communications officer, Wealth Dixon Ominabo, disclosed this in a statement made available to the news agency of Nigeria in Abuja. According to Ominabo's statement, Jonathan urged Ghanaians to be patriotic and thrive, as well as strive for free, fair, and peaceful elections when he first arrived in Ghana. Other members of the delegation include former Burkina Prime Minister and President of the ECOWAS, Executive Director of the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation, and a special advisor on media to Jonathan, and that is Tochukwu Okere. Joining us now to give us live updates on the ground there from Ghana is none other than our very own Bernard Akede. Bernard, well done. And is it good afternoon or good evening to you?
It's good evening over here, and thank you for I like to say none other than
let's know what's the latest so far. What's the preparation looking like? Just barely a day ahead of the elections for Saturday.
All right, I'm in Kumasi at the moment, and Kumasi, I'm in the south of Kumasi. I've made to understand that the wealthy class of a lot of Ghanaians are from here in southern Kumasi. A lot of them work in Accra, but here is where the money lies, based on what I've been able to gather. And the enthusiasm is high for the election now, and here's the reason why. It's two familiar faces coming head to head. The two major parties. I'll give a quick history of Ghana's democracy. So Ghana has been running a multi-party democracy for a while now, but since 1992, it's been a democracy like the politics, where you have just two major parties, the NPP and the NDP, have been the ones running. So for this election now, we have one candidate who has been structured before that John Dramani Mahama, who's stepping back, and then we have the current deputy vice president, who is Mahamadou, what's the last name now? Mahamadou Bawumia, who's now coming back in. Now, I've been able to speak to a couple of people, and some are saying, it's like I like to say in French, complete contract, like this, like that. Well, some are saying that Dramani has been here before, so we need the lives of the people to have it back. While Bawumia is really finding that has not done so much. Others are saying Dramani was here before. If he did well enough, why is he coming back? So that's the difference. Just before you go on, I have somebody here, a young gentleman who's with me. His name is Dennis. I'd like to bring him on, and so that you'll get his own view. I spoke with the cab driver who brought us from the airport, and he had 10 things he said. But I'll speak to Dennis first, just before he is. Dennis, good evening. Good evening. Okay. Now, Dennis, we were speaking earlier, and you were telling me about certain things going on in Ghana, particularly for you as a young Ghanaian. First of all, what are some of the pressing issues that you think whoever is coming in as president should address, looking from the point of the youth?
I think the youth is actually angry at this point.
and then they've been hoping to have something like employment for the graduates and the others, but any government coming to power doesn't bring that in. This go outgoing president, we have hope for him to bring us the same thing that he said that we are hoping for a change this time around. Okay. Now, in this year and the year before, and I think the year before that, actually, there had been some protests. I beg your pardon. Against the government of President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, particularly because of the taxes, that he's been bringing on the people. What can you tell us about this? And why did the youths particularly come out to protest? And what changes are they expecting now? Yeah, I think the taxes imposed on us it's huge and it's unnecessary. You understand? Most of them are very unnecessary. And the worst cases, we don't get to see the end point. Wherever our taxes goes, we don't get to see that. It would be cool for us to be giving out taxes. That would be cool. But the problem there is the taxes, how it should be spent on our country. We don't find it. You understand? And we are expecting more from them. We are expecting things. You understand? The change in mind will help us. Okay, and finally, Dennis, before you leave, besides Bawumia and John Mahama, there are certain other leaders. I think there's one who is pretty much young. That some of the youth are looking towards. Yeah. But there's the argument that he doesn't have the resources to challenge these two juggernauts. What do you think about that? I think he hasn't got the resources at this moment. But with time, we are with him. We are the youth, and we are with him. He is for the youth, and we are with him. We are hoping for the next time or the next 4 years to his name is Cheddar. So we are hoping we bring him into the presidency the next time we go for voting. All right. Thank you so much. Well, Julie, that pretty much is a summary of of how it's been going on here in Ghana. The people we're speaking with, we still intend to speak some more questions as the day goes on. Tomorrow morning we will get to certain other places, and then hopefully we'll be able to go to the northern part of Ghana, where the two top candidates, coincidentally, are from, and that's where they'll be casting their vote. Bawumia, who is the current deputy president, will be casting his vote in Wale, as we heard, and John Mahama will be casting his vote in Bole Bomboy.
Unfortunately, we have lost connection there with Ben Alakede. We'll try to bring more live report from him. As we'll do understand, another of our correspondents will be live at the capital of Ghana, as well as none other than Afia Hagen will bring you the live coverage of the elections as it happens December 7th, this Saturday. We'll move away from Ghana now to Togo, as the country will hold its first elections for the upper house of parliament, the Senate, on February 2nd, one of the last steps towards implementing a contested new constitution. Now, the overhaul abolishes the election of the head of state by universal suffrage and introduces a parliamentarian system. Now, it has been slammed by opposition and civil society groups as a ploy by the president to hold on to power indefinitely. Now, Togo's strongman has ruled over the West African country of 8.8 million people since 2005, when he took over from his father in power for 38 years. Now, under the previous constitution, the president would have been able to run for the presidency just one more time in 2025. But with the reform, Togo's president becomes a mostly ceremonial role elected by parliament and not the people for a 4-year term. Well, will it work? Only time will tell. We move on to Namibia now, as the country is elected its first woman as president-elect. It's none other than Netumbo Nadi Taita, and she's been acknowledged the significance. She's acknowledged the significance of her win, her victory, calling it a breakthrough for women in the Southern African nation. Now, in her remarks, she described our election as a moment that shatters the glass ceiling, paving the way for more women to resume leadership at the highest level. Now, SWAPO was declared the winner of the last week's disputed elections on Tuesday. However, the opposition has rejected the results, refusing to recognize Nadi Taitwa's victory. Despite the controversy, the president-elect remains focused on a historic mandate.
Hello, Namibians. As a woman, I am the first to admit that my election to hold the highest office in the land is definitely one that is breaking the glass ceiling for a Namibian woman to lead at this level. In this context, it's not going to be business as usual, comrades. I love you all, but you might hate me, but hate me because I love you, and I want to do what is good for you. And I repeat, it's not going to be business as usual. We must have a radical shift in addressing the plight of our people, especially the downtrodden and the vulnerable communities. The time is now to address all known gray areas and challenges.
You're watching news now on News Central Television. Still ahead. UK Prime Minister Starmer reveals plan for change in reset bid after 150 days in administration. We have the details after the break. Join us again. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has unveiled a plan for change for Britain as he attempts a de facto relaunch of his government following a bumpy first 5 months in power. The PM said the government faces an almighty challenge to hit these milestones by the end of his parliament. Now, Starmer branded Britain broken but not beyond repair as he spoke of the need for a mission-led government.
For Change is the most ambitious and credible programme for government in a generation. And we embrace the risk that comes with it. Because if there was no jeopardy, if there was no resistance, no blockages or impediments for us to remove, then as sure as night follows day, that would be a sign that we're not serious about delivering change. And I will never do that. The mandate was for change, and change is what we will deliver.
French Prime Minister Michel Barnier on Thursday met with Emmanuel Macron to submit his resignation after losing a vote of no confidence in Parliament, with the president urgently seeking ways to halt growing political and financial chaos. Barnier arrived at the Ellis Palace for the resignation formality, with the outgoing premier constitutionally obliged to step down after the defeat in Parliament. Now, earlier on Wednesday, a majority of lawmakers supported the no-confidence vote that was proposed by the hard left and backed by the far right, headed by Marine Le Pen. Now, Barnier was ejected because his 2025 budget proposal included austerity measures that he claimed were required to stabilize France's finances, but that a majority of Parliament found unacceptable. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has accused Russia of undermining democratic processes and urges continued vigilance to preserve OSCE's norms during a speech at an OSCE summit in Malta. Now, according to Blinken, Romanian officials are revealing a Russian conspiracy to sway the most recent presidential election. Now, Blinken did not meet his Russian counterpart before departing Malta. Now, this comes after Ukraine's foreign minister called Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov, a war criminal on Thursday as they both attended an international meeting in Malta. the latter's first visit to an EU country since 2022 invasion.
The OSCE observed more than a dozen elections, including the recent United States election, delivering assessments that remain the gold standard for free and fair contests. In Moldova, the OSCE affirmed a well-administered runoff, despite Russian interference. And now Romanian authorities are uncovering a Russian effort, large in scale and well-funded, to influence the recent presidential election, contrary to OSCE standards. Meanwhile, in Georgia, observers shed light on troubling reports of voter intimidation and efforts by the ruling party to tilt the playing field in its favor.
Amnesty International on Thursday accused Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza since the start of the war last year, saying a new report was a wake-up call for the international community. The London-based rights organization said its findings were based on dehumanizing and genocidal statements by Israeli government and military officials. Satellite images documenting devastation, field work, and ground reports from Gazans. Now, Amnesty International has also announced that it will publish a report on the crimes committed by Hamas during the October 7th attack, which resulted in the deaths of 1,208 people on the Israeli side, mostly civilians, based on official Israeli figures, which includes hostages killed in captivity.
Everything that needed to be considered, and at the end, the only reasonable conclusion that could be drawn is that Israel intended and intend to commit genocide. It may do so alongside its military objective. It may do so in addition to obliterate or get rid of Hamas. There is absolutely no doubt. We looked at all the evidence holistically together. We identified the pattern of conduct, the repetition of acts which could not be explained by recklessness, which could not be explained by lack of knowledge. We looked at the cumulative effect of these acts one after the other. We looked at the incredible impact of Israel's crimes over the last 14 months. We looked at the intent as being communicated by officials in the war cabinet, the statement that they made calling for genocidal act, and those very same acts happening shortly thereafter.
The Ghana Statistical Service has released the latest inflation data revealing mixed trends in November 2024. Now, food inflation decreased to 25.9% from 28.8% in October, signaling some relief in rising food prices. Non-food inflation also saw a slight decline, dropping to 20.7% compared to 21.5% in October. However, inflation for locally produced items rose to 25.4%, up from 24.6%, while imported goods inflation climbed to 17.6% compared to 16.3% in October. The adjustments reflect shifts in pricing pressures across both local and international markets. The data presented at a news conference in Accra on December 4th, 2024, highlights the evolving dynamics of Ghana's economy amid global and domestic challenges. And on to Kenya, as Kenyan shilling was steady on Thursday, supported by dollar inflows from diaspora money transfers and tea exports, traders say. Now, the shilling traded at 129 to 129.50 per dollar at and that's about at 0657 GMT, the same as Wednesday's closing rate. Now, Kenya consistently receives significant remittances from its diaspora, which provide a steady inflow of US dollars, bolstering the local currency. Now, these remittances tend to increase during holiday seasons and key periods, helping to balance foreign exchange demand. The Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, often intervenes in the foreign exchange market to smooth out volatility. Now, by selling or purchasing dollars, the CBK helps stabilize the shilling against major currencies. Well, if you own a Bitcoin, this is soaring news for you. Bitcoin has soared to above $100,000 for the first time on Thursday, marking a pivotal moment for cryptocurrencies as investors rallied behind a crypto-friendly U.S. administration. The milestone was hailed as a sign of cryptocurrencies' growing maturity in financial markets. The total cryptocurrency market has nearly doubled this year, reaching a record $3.8 trillion according to CoinGecko, surpassing even Apple's $3.7 trillion valuation. Now, since its creation 16 years ago, Bitcoin has evolved from a libertarian niche to a Wall Street staple, minting millionaires and popularizing decentralized finance. Its value has more than doubled this year and surged over 50% in the past decade. Buoyed, or rather in the past month, I beg your pardon, buoyed by Donald Trump's election victory, the rise of pro-crypto lawmakers in Congress as well. And now for some sports. Reigning MPFL champions Rangers International FC of Enugu have announced free entry for fans and supporters for their Matchday 16 clash against league leaders Rivers United. Now, the match is scheduled for Sunday, December 8th, 2024 at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium. According to the club management, the gesture is both a celebration of the Yuletide season and a token of appreciation for their loyal fans. Now, fourth-place Rangers will aim to continue an impressive 8-match unbeaten run under coach Fidelis Ilechukwu and currently sit fourth on the log with an unbeaten streak stretching to 8 matches this season. Rivers United, managed by former Super Eagles manager Finidi Judge, will be hoping to maintain their lead at the top of the low as the season nears the halfway mark. Fun times. And off to as Bayern Munich captain Manuel Neuer was today hit with a 2-game ban in the German Cup after receiving the first red card in his 866-game career. Neuer was sent off in the 7th minute of the defeat of Bayern Leverkusen in the last 16 as the goalkeeper rushed out of his goal and collided with an advancing Jeremy Frimpong. Now, with Bayern reduced to 10 men, Leverkusen won 1-0 thanks to a second-half goal from Nigerian winger Nathan Teller. The 2014 World Cup winner goalkeeper apologized to his teammates for the red card on social media after the defeat. Now, with Bayern out of the competition, Manuel would not serve the ban until next season's German Cup or Super Cup. Now, Manuel's contract at Bayern expires at the end of the current season, meaning he would avoid the ban should he retire or leave German football. A very sticky situation, but that's all we can take at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Some members of the House of Representatives have dumped Labour Party, People's Democratic Party for ruling All Progressive Congress. We also told you that Borno Deputy Governor and over 100 others have escaped a plane incident. And we headed off to Namibia, where the president-elect has called victory a breakthrough for women. Fun times, I tell you. Remember that you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, or better yet, you can stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith TV. Bye for now.